Welcome back to part 2. Let's get going with the workout. Hi everyone. For our next exercise, I'm going to set 2 exercises together. So I'm going to do hyperextensions and walking lunges. So we'll start with the hyperextension, which is predominantly for the lower back, but it also targets your glutes. You'll feel it a little bit higher up on your glutes, so it's a good exercise for that. And it's also going to target your core as well. And then we're going to go on to a walking lunge. Lunge is more of a compound exercise. It's going to hit your legs all round and also your glutes. But I find the walking lunge is really good, especially if it's heavy, really hits my glutes. Okay, so we'll go through that first, and then later I'll give you a few tips as to how to do the exercises. Okay, so we'll start with the hyperextension. Now that the competition's finished, I'll be able to have a little bit of downtime, but also, work begins on, again, building more on my hamstrings and glutes, because the girl that won the show, although we are very similar, she still beats me on the hamstring and glute department. So it's the area I need to concentrate on a little bit more. Yeah, and we'll see how it goes for the next sort of competitive season. So I'll see if I can make a few more changes to my physique. Is that okay? Okay, that's our first set. Ideally, when you're doing the lunge, so you do it for a little bit further than what I have. And yeah, for the hyperextension, I'll give you a few tips as to how you do it. You've got various settings. You can have the hyperextension bench, but whatever's most comfortable for you, because obviously it's going to be positioned so you're off your hips. Okay, you can also use weight if you need to. Sometimes I'm in a quandary as to where I put my arms. Some people like to balance themselves a little bit, or you could pop them across your chest. Really up to you. And with the walking lunge, try to use weight when you do it yourself. You can do it without weight, but you want to overload your glutes. Obviously, if you want to gain a bit of size there, you're going to want to do it with some dumbbells or barbell, perhaps. Okay, so it's really up to you. Okay, so I'll do our next set. For me, this is an angle, it's slightly uncomfortable, but I wanted to raise it, but I'm struggling. For me, I would prefer that to be sort of more parallel. But we shall manage. I want to give you some final tips though to remember with these exercises. Couple for the hyperextension. Just balance yourself carefully. Don't round your back, and also keep your back in tension when you're doing the exercise. If you can manage it, add a bit of weight, but I would just say take your time doing this one. Don't fly through it. The idea is to keep the tension on your back and ensure that it's contracting properly. So just do it slowly. Then we're moving on to the walking lunge. I would aim for a bit more distance than what I've done today, but it was just the purpose of being able to show you. Just when you're lunging down, be careful that your knee isn't flexing too far over, so it shouldn't really be going over your toe. It's just going to cause you pain. Hi guys, I'm now going to take you through some posing practice. Posing and presentation is a huge part of competing if you were going to go down that route, and even if you were looking at doing fitness modelling or something like that and you want to know how to present your body appropriately, it does make a huge difference, and it's something that I have found particularly difficult. And I've spent a long time working on it in order to try and perfect it for the stage. Because you can have the best body in the world, but if you can't present it properly, then no one's ever really going to see it, particularly if you're doing a competition. So I thought today I'll take you through some of the poses, and we'll look at how to sort of learn doing it a little bit. So if my main focus is figure as I compete in the professional figure league. So we've got some particular poses, and some of them are adapted for other federations if you compete with someone else. But the first pose that we would look at is something called the relaxed pose, and this is probably one of the hardest ones to learn. It's sometimes also called the presentation pose. If I show you initially, it's essentially that. So in terms of learning how to do this pose, I'm going to use the mirror. But I would say when you're learning, try not to always use the mirror, because if you were going to do a competition, there's no mirror in front of you. So sometimes it's better to close your eyes, try and get your body into the pose, and then look in the mirror and see whether you've got it, which is what I tend to do. Usually nobody is perfect. So I would, for a long time, when I was doing, for example, a front pose, I'd be like this, and I'd have one shoulder much higher than the other. So I have to know how to adjust myself, and you're not going to have a mirror in front of you. Anyway, more onto the presentation pose, or the relaxed pose, however you want to call it. I tend to start, if I'm helping someone, or even when I've been learning myself, so I start from the bottom up. So I will get the feet in position first. Okay, so if we go to the mirror, I would have the feet in a T position. Your foot isn't too far out, just in a T. Other girls will go also with that pose, and then sometimes their toes even off the floor. But I find with that sometimes that challenges me with my balance. And if you're doing figure, you tend to be wearing ginormous 5-inch heels, 4 or 5-inch heels. So the T pose is more comfortable for me. From here, depending on where you turn your foot, is going to put more emphasis on your quads. Now, the further I have mine turned out, the more emphasis I've got on my quads. So sometimes for me, because mine, the last couple of years have become quite dominant. So I don't need to have such a turned out foot. So I might bring mine in just slightly, so it doesn't give so much emphasis. From here, once you've got this right, you'd be looking at your glutes. Now, these have to remain tight, and your belly button's in really hard. From here, you twist, but you still have to be you have to be contracting your glute the whole time. Now, as your body turns, the idea is to keep yourself looking as small as you can from the side. So the more you twist, the smaller you're going to look through your waist. And that is obviously what the judges will be looking at. Okay, so from here, you're twisting around. My belly button's almost staying this way, but the rest of my body is moving forward. Okay. So you twist, then you're looking at your upper body. Now, the point of this, if you're twisting around and you've not really moved your upper body, you're not going to get that nice line across your shoulders and your chest, which is obviously what they'll be looking at. You're trying to make yourself look quite wide from the top. And from here, I'd be bringing out my lat muscles and my shoulders. But the whole time, your stomach and your glutes are squeezed in tight, and you're really, really twisting. You can determine where you put your hands as to what's comfortable for you. If I was on the stage, I tend to move around. It sometimes draws attention to you a little bit, but I'm not constantly moving. I'll just move myself slightly. Now, as you twist, you're gonna make your upper body as wide as you can, and your face is towards whoever's looking. sounds, maybe sounds easier than it is, but this is usually the hardest one to grasp. And I think it's the twisting element that makes it really, really difficult. Because a lot of girls I see, they really struggle. And I think this is what makes the difference if you've got a really strong core as well, because you can maintain that twist and a strong lower back as well. Okay, so moving into the last pose I'm going to show you is the back pose, which is essentially the same as the front pose, but more, I give more emphasis on the glutes and the hamstrings. Glutes, hamstrings and lower back when I'm doing this one, simply because if you're posing from the front, obviously the judges can't see that area. So if I show you first, we turn round. Okay, again, feet together. I'm slightly pushing out with my toes on the outside. Okay, we've got squeezing our hamstrings, squeezing the glutes, squeezing the lower back, and then I put myself into the back pose. And sometimes I'll roll forward and then roll back again, which helps me get myself in position. Again, really this is the same as the front pose. I'm slightly tipped forward. Not tipped forward too far. The further you tip forward, if you're on a stage, remember you've got the lights there, the lights are going to miss that part of your back and hit here. So you'll lose definition if you're too far forward. So just a slight tipping, just slightly. Again, arms nice and soft. Okay, so there is, I'm squeezing the whole of this area and my lats. Okay, so slight bend, and that's it. It's really the same as the front pose. So I've taken you through some of the poses today. There's obviously more that we could go through, but it's some poses to get you started with. They are exhausting, but it makes a huge difference. It's part of my preparation that in the past I'd always left as the last part that I focus on, but I've now learned that really it's as important as, you know, the diet and the training, because the more you get this perfect, the more it will show on the stage. And there's nothing worse than being absolutely prepared, looking fantastic. You know, you're taking fantastic selfies, you're doing photo shoots, then you go on stage and you can't actually get yourself into the compulsory poses properly. So it is really, really important to sort of practice them if you're gonna be competing. Anyway, that's it for posing today. Hope it was helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. You can join me soon again on the Active channel, and I'll see you soon.